They won seventh. They won
They just
seventh
went
grade.
four in the row?
No, they were in bonus.
Okay, I'm sure with that.
Yes, yes.
Trying to remember.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah. Too much football mixing in now and I
Oh,
don't have
sorry,
all my
yeah.
baseball stuff.
Yeah, and then you had the Iowa, you know.
Yeah,
Iowa State.
I don't say that.
See, with Kansas, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to wait till basketball season. Oh, it's 6:30.
Yeah.
Going by the.
Good evening, everybody. I am Mayor Pro Tem tonight, and we're here for the City Council work study session of September 16th, 2025. I think on our agenda, people can see how to remote access if that's their preferred method of being involved. And I'd like to read the guiding principles. Are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past, but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? And is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community? With that, I'd like to call for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got 3 discussion items scheduled for tonight. Beginning with the mid-biennial review by Director Crocker.
Or if you want, Brandon, okay, I think that. We're start with tonight by checking in and you guys, let me see that. Perfect. Good.
Okay,
So just checking in with the council, updating you kind of where we're at in this mid-biennial review process. I think for most of you, this is your first time through a mid-review. And again, with our records, this is a new budget. So we set our 2-year budget, we midway through, review it, see our performance against revenue, see our performance expenses. Then we make modifications to any action that we anticipate thus far through the year that we may not have included in the budget, like contracts and amendments, those type of things. So I typically call those clean items and clean items. And then there'll be other items that directors will ask for as they kind of review their budgets. If there's additional needs that they've identified, anything major or significant that would impact our 2-year period. So we really focus this mid-review on big things mostly. But that's kind of where we're at right now through September. So I've put out my request to the departments to review the budgets. They have some instructions on how to fill out any additional requests or follow-up items. They will get those reports back to me by September 24th. And from the 24th through October 1st, Finance Department will reviewing the requests, compiling information, trying to get in a presentable format to council. We'll sit down with the mayor, kind of walk through their requests, and he'll make a recommendation or yes or no on their kind of request. We'll bring that back to the finance committee. So I'll have to send out a calendar invite for 3 of you guys. Sometime in the first week of October, the 7th through the 10th is usually when I target. Sometime in that week, we'll have one meeting to go over all the requests and kind of where we're at. Then we'll follow up with the next meeting being October 14th. We'll have a public hearing on revenue sources. So this is required for us to set property taxes. So we'll have a revenue presentation, revenues for this general fund, as well as the property taxes that we're anticipating. We'll have a public hearing at that meeting. The 21st will be the work study session where we'll bring the whole mid-biennial review proposal to the full council to review and discuss. So work sessions like this, I'll walk through all the requests, discuss, and at that meeting, you'll get some direction. You give me some direction if it's different than what we have proposed for the mid-biennial amendments. Then we'll hold another public hearing on the modifications to that budget at that meeting. Again, it's just open the public hearing, allow the public to comment on it. We'll take any comment and incorporate that into our final budget amendment, which I'm targeting for October 28th, so the last meeting of the month. I'm also targeting October 28th to adopt the 2026 property tax levy. So that takes us pretty quick, but we do really focus month in October. Again, it's not a new budget process, so it doesn't need to take as long. We focus on high level stuff, things you should already be familiar with. It's just really just checking in to see where we're doing, any modifications we want to make at this point in the 2-year process.
Question.
Yeah.
So October for the property tax for the people to come in and make a comment. What day is that again?
October 21st is what I'm targeting for a public hearing.
Okay, 21st for the public hearing. And then you said you want to kind of wrap this up on October 28th.
Yeah, so I'm targeting the 28th to adopt budget amendments as well as the property tax.
Okay, so how many weeks does this go out for the public to hear about this? Is it, because I'm kind of thinking it should be at least 3 weeks out for the public to hear. They get to come here for a public comment. Do they get that much?
There's a required time.
Yeah, what's the
It's not-
acquired time?
Oh,
It's not through
10 days or something.
10 days?
I don't even think it's actually 8 days. I mean, Charlie might be able
Is
to
it
answer
a
this.
week?
It's just you're required to hold a public hearing.
You're required to hold a public hearing, and the public notice has to be posted 2 consecutive weeks.
Oh, so like kind of a
So
2 week
it's
period.
2 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
that, yeah, great.
And Heidi, the schedule that you were asking about is
Uh-huh.
on page 4 in the packet.
Yeah,
It's that.
right. Oh, and I did get that.
Yeah.
My computer working, so I got a few things here, but yes, okay, thank you. I didn't, yes, I do have that. So thank you. I want to make sure that the public knows about that.
Levy's 1%.
Property tax levy is up to max, yeah,
Sorry.
maximum 1%. But we just got the county reports, so I'm still going through what our max levy can be.
Is
Yeah, in
there,
most years, we haven't been able to levy a full 1% because if you have a levy cap, and so we tend to hit our levy cap every year, which means we aren't going up 1%. So I wouldn't expect us to go up 1%.
This is not by vote, right? I mean, the public can talk, but it's, we do it. It's not
Yeah,
a
yeah.
vote on.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, there's a vote in here that I read too. That was, I think that's Nick Vaughn talking about this one.
Yeah, no, this will be council action to
Right.
set the proper limits. Yeah, and then that gives me enough time to then file the paperwork at DOR, get all that to them by, I think November 30th.
When you said that you talked to the department heads, is that to see if there's any new needs, like significant needs for the biennial budget? If we can make some adjustments, is that what you talked to them for?
Yeah, so generally
they're
I will
both
talk
up.
with them first.
Correct, yeah.
We'll either rein in their requests.
Sure.
Or we'll fully support it. For Denison, I'm fully support it, but in years past, we've had to kind of rein in and say, hey, this isn't what this is about, here's really what we're focusing on. So we'll have those discussions with the department directors, and they generally understand and those attitudes, yep, this is kind of what this process is about. And then we'll meet with the finance committee and say, here's what they requested, but here's really what we're bringing forward as a budget amendment proposal. And mostly what I found in the last couple of annual processes, directors were very reasonable, and we generally supported almost everything they brought forward. So there hasn't been too much because we've kind of really focused the message on the front side of what they are supposed to be focusing on, not completely writing a new.
Sure.
So yeah, so and they do a good job of focusing on those big things.
Okay.
Yeah.
any sneak preview on issues now that we can start thinking about, or is it too soon?
It's just, yeah, I don't even have anything back from, I'm just now starting to really focus my attention on budget going through each GL and see if there's any trends, anything I should be aware of, or so report back, yeah.
Okay, it's kind of what I figured. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I just was wondering also if you would take the opportunity to go back and look at the, I don't like to use the word wish list, but when we had our meeting of the council to look at things that we would like, see if there's anything on there that jumps out.
Yeah, that's a good point. So as a part of this process, so when we completed the biennial budget, there was a list of mid-year review items.
Right,
That we
exactly.
did not fund in the digital budget. So I have that list.
Okay.
The mayor has the list, and so we'll put that on this mid-year review and say, here's the list that we talked about. can we fund these? Do you guys still want to fund these? Does it make sense? Is there anything else? that's highlighted?
When we had our retreat.
Yeah.
We put that all together.
Yeah.
And then finance will get a first look at it, so. That'll be a good idea. Thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
That's a good reminder.
Any other questions? All right. We're on to discussion item D, the general sewer plan presentation.
That was it.
Mr. Ryan, Mr. Crocker, was there more?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Quick, I'm like,
You got off easy.
Tell you what the schedule is.
you make it quick, we're all out tonight.
Yeah. All about efficiency. All right. You guys are leading the show.
So it's kind of a joint effort. So we have today with us Consular Engineering. We have Erica Schuyler and Adam Schuyler, and I'll give it my seat in a moment here, but I'll just give a quick overview that we update our general sewer plan every 6 to 10 years. So we are at the culmination of a project that started about 2 years ago, shortly before I started working here. Consular was retained to do our general sewer plan update. Oh, go ahead.
No, when you're done.
Oh, yeah, and so this is a culmination. This is 2 separate projects as the sewer rate study that was done by the FCS group. There's been coordination and discussion between Consular and FCS group. Noah's gonna discuss tonight at the conclusion of the presentation by Consular, what the impacts of the utility rates and how it marries up to the general sewer plant update. There was more that I was gonna tell you, but I'm taking a long time, so we have about an hour with Consular. This is a very big body of work. I apologize getting it to you late, getting it all together, trying to meet this end of the year goal of getting this approved ahead of the next year. It's a big undertaking, but we're there. I welcome anybody to dig deep into any of the chapters that they want to ask. So Consular presented this to the utility committee last week, and so this will be a little bit more in depth. So go ahead.
I just was curious, when was the last rate change done? I didn't notice that it was standard. Yeah,
2020.
sorry.
Our last rate adjustment was in 2020, and that was from the body of work from 2015. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna give up my seat here. And I
Let's
can-
see if there's some extra chairs back there.
I can.
And I can stay on, I don't mind standing as long as. I just don't know how to get slides.
Usually say next, Angie works for us.
Say that, it'll happen.
Yeah, I don't say-
I'm not just saying.
Yeah,
I'm just
so it's not-
saying,
The phase it is, like,
The last one was.
so they adopted the rate structure due to the phase act.
So, and you were on board.
Yeah, yeah,
Wherever you want.
absolutely.
And it was like $20.
Yeah.
Just remind
Gotta-
you, microphone's
gotta
up there,
pay
so you
for
gotta speak loud.
So.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, please go.
Thanks for having us. We gave this very same presentation to the utility, company, so don't expect anything exciting and new, but we can talk about the questions that we have since we had this conversation last week. But if we skip to the next slide, I don't know who that is. Oh, perfect. I'll give you a little bit. So as Dennis indicated, we're here to talk about the general sewer plan process. I'll introduce us and then we'll go through the overview of the general sewer plan and then have some time for questions. So next slide. My name is Erica Schuyler. I've been the project manager for this general sewer plan. And then with me tonight is Adam Schuyler, who is my spouse, but also one of the best utility planners that I know, and he's our principal in charge for the project, along with overseeing the quality management and technical advising for the plan. You want to say anything about yourself? You got a long fun history.
The very first plan set I ever established was the city of Port Orchard project, so your city is near and dear to my heart. The 2010 plan I worked on, 2015 plan I worked on. I didn't work on the update in between, and then I worked on this one, so it's just, I genuinely love working for your city, and it's been a part of my, 25+ year.
And I'm similar, not with my first plan that was for the city of Port Orchard, but I've been working with the city for that same time now too. So lots of good stuff going on, but that's who we are. We have other people, of course, that will come on with us. Drew Henson was on the call last week. He was not able to make it tonight, so we said that's fine. We can do this. So next slide, please. So like I said, I'm going to walk through the general sewer plan that you've seen now and just give really highlights of each chapter. One of the most important things is that it does meet the Washington Administrative Code 173, 240, 450, and that's very prescriptive. And when ecology receives the plan, the plan will be looked at in relation to the WAC. So as you'll see as we go through the slides and as you've read, that we are very clear on which section meets what part of the WAC. So it's going to be for regulatory review. We'll talk about again the overview of each chapter, very high level, and talk about next steps, and then give kind of a at the end. Next slide, please. So I took a snapshot of the WAC. It was, like I said, very much, you can find this online. I'm sure y'all have looked at the WAC before, but this is where we get the direction of what to put into every sewer plan that we write, not specific to city or but just for every sewer plan that's out there. So the general sewer plan meets the intent of the WAC. So this is just clearly it's a little bit small to read, but I just wanted to show you that this is actually the verbiage that you find in the WAC. Next slide.
Sometimes this works and sometimes it does not.
So you want me to sit here?
Nope, I'm gonna hand this to you
Okay.
and fingers crossed it works.
Okay. Fingers crossed. Okay, so in our general sewer plan, there are chapters as well as an executive summary. And that's just a listing of the table of contents that you saw in the document received earlier this week. And we'll just jump in to the introduction chapter 1. This is where obviously after the executive summary and sewer plans introduced, we talk about where the city is in relation to surrounding areas, and then also you'll notice that's that table. We talk about it both in the executive summary, but also in table 1.1 is where again that those areas and exactly where the intent of the WAC is being met with the document. So it is a very easy visual aid rather to see where we are complying with those WAC standards requirements. Chapter 2, we move into your city policies and standards, and each of these 7 topics here has a discussion item in the plan. Chapter 2 doesn't have any really great maps, so I didn't actually have a snapshot of it. But we talk about the city goals, we talk about the standards that you have for design and construction, we talk about development, grinder systems, step systems. So we really talk about all of what is available in the city currently and tie it back to the city goals.
And for this one, we didn't do any updates to the policies. It was just a summary of the existing policies.
The service area characteristics is chapter 3, and this is where we get into a lot of nice maps. So you can see different maps that show land use and zoning or topography and geology. This is all showing how the sewer system engages with the different critical areas, census areas, your rural management as well in there. So we're talking about the service area and how the city is providing that sort of service to your customers. Chapter 4 talks about population, both existing and future. This is where we look at both residential and employment population, and this is how we're building this plan to really give you a snapshot of where you need to go for the next 6 and 20 years, and knowing how much you're going to grow and what you're projected to grow or how you're projected to grow is very important. And so we get this information from PSRC and what other regional entities that give the population and awards in the future as well. And I mentioned again, 6 versus what the CIP is looking for towards. Chapter 5, we take a look at your existing facilities, so we have nice maps that show your existing mini basins or sewer service basins. We show the piping and the lift stations and then go into the lift station condition assessment. We also do have a planned mini basins map within chapter 5 to look out into the future of it.
And the way those basins are broken out is it's a hydraulically discrete area, so it's where all of the sewers within that, whatever the color would be, flow to a single point, typically a pump station, sometimes that we may, but it is hydraulically driven how we break the city up throughout, or break the sewer system up process.
We talk about wastewater flow in chapter 6, and this is where we're analyzing your existing wastewater flows, taking a look at I&I and how that impacts the flow. You did flow monitoring, develop different flow sections and looking at diagonal curves and your industrial connections, and that all built into projecting that out to those wastewater flows for the future. The conveyance system analysis is where we're taking that flow information, that population information, and loading it into your existing sewer model. We calibrate that, we update it with the information that we have just been pulling together, and then we look at the, what it's going to look like in the 6 and 20 year periods. We look at how you're going to expand in the future. And then from there, from all of that information, we look at the capital improvement plan and how potential upgrades can work within that hydraulic model. This is just a blow up of that, and I do apologize, I have to reduce the size of the PowerPoint and send it together so that your paper copies are way too many, your computers are going to be much more sharp than this one is on the screen. But this just gives you a little bit of a better view of your existing system and where there are deficiencies. And so in this map in particular, you can see that there's some deficiencies in that yellow pipe there, which then ties to the legend over there for the deficiency in 2024. But this is just a helpful, again, this is a put through that sewer model, so it's taking all that information in from flows and population and seeing where the system may be undersized or needs, to be upgraded.
And that trunk, that's the Crocker Boulevard sewer, right? That's where that was.
Okay, so then, chapter 8, like I said, taking all that information still from that model and everything that we loaded into the model, it spits out improvements. And we look at 6 years and 20 years. There are 7 different categories that we look at in terms of capital facility, or sorry, improvement projects, replacement, upgrade, capacity, O&M, obsolescence, just a general catch-all, and then a developer list as well. And so in those tables in the plan, you'll see each of the different CIP broken into one. It has X next to one of those categories. So you can kind of see, is it because this pipe is super old and I coming into it, or is it undersized for the development coming in that we're anticipating, or is this for time? O&M, it's really helpful to get information from op staff to know if there are areas that are problematic currently as well. So that again is for 6 and 20 years. Such good luck. Oh.
And I want to point something out to you, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
We had a really good question about the sewer planning utility commission, I can't remember who asked it, but all the information you're seeing, the body of work started in 2023, as you mentioned, that's where they kind of drew the line in the sand, and that was the starting point for this plan. But staff had a very collaborative interaction as far as what our current needs are, and that's how the CIP, the 6-year CIP was established. So You'll see some numbers and demographics as far as population, it was referenced at that point in time. If you recall our sorry, go ahead.
No, after you're finished, I'll
Yeah.
make a comment.
And our water system plan is very similar, and it's even further behind the line in the sand because it was the COVID and there was a big delay, so just a little history while you were trying to figure out.
That comment was just about population growth, that sometimes, like with the school district, when they show enrollment, they'll show a high and a low projection, and this is where we think we're going. And I asked that, the modeling, correct me if I'm wrong, is just based, a baseline, one snapshot in time.
Right.
So, as opposed to other times, you may look at a high and low as it goes out through the future about how our growth is much more than we've been expecting. So.
Yeah, because there was a number in there, one, back in the chapter that talked about population, it said 2022's number was 13,000.
Yeah.
Where did we get that number? We're way.
Right, and we did add, after the staff reviewed it, because we know that we're following that, right? So parts a little bit before the horse or vice versa. And so we are off a little bit, but the sewer plan numbers are actually, conservative with the numbers of population that we're projecting. And so I think it's about 2,000 persons that are.
Yeah, well, to answer the question about 2022, we just interpolated it from the 2020 data out to 22. Well, I think PRSC might have done that. PSRC may have done that.
Is that what it was wrong? That's.
But it was taken there because you don't actually have there's not a counted number. I can't believe I just forgot the census number. Gosh, yeah, a census number there. So it is a projection at that point. If there is stronger data sources, it would be good to know those. It would not impact anything in the plan unless that was off by 10,000 people. But there's, with the design of the facilities, and even what Erica was starting to allude to, I apologize, I interrupted, is there were updated population projections as part of your comprehensive plan that I think was published in December of 24. And we are, you actually
I
see,
think it was about 2,000 difference.
we projected 2,000 more people than what the 2024, but it's not enough that it would impact the capital improvement plan that has been presented in this plan, because you're spreading that 2,000 out.
Okay, and I just wasn't sure if that was a different number than actual population.
I think that number was born out of 2016. At that time, and maybe it was carried forward. I'm just guessing at this point. That was the prior to 2020.
I got a question.
So I just want to make sure we get back and finish that, because I think the numbers that came out at the beginning of this year was like 19.3 or something.
Sure.
That doesn't impact your future numbers, knowing we're that far ahead to where we're, I mean, the delta there to, I think 10 years from now was like 4,000, which
Right.
will not be any way, shape or form accurate.
Right. And we've had, Dennis and I have had this conversation too, because we recognize that, this plan and the numbering and now it would continue growth that you're seeing. We're gonna look at potentially taking the capital improvements that we're proposing and running the model with unadjusted population to see if things change, but they probably won't. But I don't know, we'll have to.
I mean, if all 2,000 went into
Yeah,
one spot and into one pipe, that would impact, but because there are focus areas
Yeah.
where the growth is.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that because we were able to engage into the process here. We had our comp plan that was just recently completed. That 6-year CIP mimics this 6-year CIP. So we were able to get that.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand all this. In 2000 I owned my house up there 2015, and now we're 2025. But it did increase only like 13 annually, and now here we are. And I remember calling, I don't know what it was, but it was after 2020. I was saying, hey, there's a $20 increase. And I was curious about that. And that's up to date, and it keeps going $20 increment. And And then I go, did you guys get a pay raise? So, and they said, no, this is for all, you know, what we're doing here. And so now, here we are, and so I'm kind of curious. Because I brought my bill,
What are you referring to?
I'm referring, so when we do all
Are you
this,
talking about rates right now?
well, I'm talking about rates, but don't we want to increase the 3.5%? Isn't that what we're doing right now?
No, so this is different.
This is
This is the general sewer plan.
Yeah.
That's the rate study. So they're presenting the plan.
just the plan. Okay, well then I
Yeah,
want
after
to,
the plan, we'll talk a little bit about rates. That'll be at the tail end of their presentation.
okay, well, and then I want to talk about that because I have all this stuff and it talks about Bainbridge is even on this and all this. So, okay, then I'll talk about
Yeah,
all
don't-
my study after
Yeah,
this.
we'll pull that to the tail.
Okay.
And is our asset management systems up to date?
We did quite a bit of updating to this. There's constant improvement, right? We're still in the process of TV in the city. We have not been.
Also, I'm curious about, because when this, I'm just curious, like, where do you get your assets from to use for this?
GIS. The GIS program, builds, helps build our model. Is that what you're asking? How did we build?
A little bit
this
deeper than that.
map?
Not the map, like. We're talking about like replacements of certain things and life expectancy of, you know, the assets that we have, right? Lift stations to airbags to, you name it, right? I mean, everything that's wrong with an asset that we have to work on. I'm curious where you get your assets from because we don't have, we're not fully implemented on that. So I'm curious, like, how do we know what we need to budget for, how many lines need replaced when we don't even have that information?
Right.
I think you're asking about the accuracy of that.
The accuracy of it, correct?
I can get that. I mean, that's it's proof. We've got the video there. We haven't been prepared to.
No.
But I mean, so
I agree.
so there's still many unknowns, yes. So
I agree with you 100%. That's why I'm asking the questions, because what you're saying right now is here we're talking about the plan moving forward, and I'm curious, where do you get your data from of
Yep.
what assets need updated, what to expect when we don't have that?
How did you come to rely on your figures?
We don't have that.
So back when I first started working on this, I actually went to the ops building over, is it off of Clifton, and went up into the mezzanine and thumbed through as-built drawings to try to get dates on things. And so it has been just a collection of data, some through, was it the 2Js that were here for a long time on the ops side? Interviewing them, finding out the age of pipes, problem pipes, and it's just kind of continued to build. And so we know some of the age because of as-built drawings, construction photos, those sorts of things, especially for facilities. So the pump stations we feel pretty good about. Pipes, because you haven't gone through the whole city yet, not sure about the conditions. So we may look at one that was installed in, say, the 80s as part of a neighborhood. Well, you're looking at 40 years old now. Pipes have a 50 to 100-year lifespan. So we're looking at that saying, okay, this would be a watch area. And to address that, there's just just a number, and I don't remember, I looked at you because I don't remember exactly how the number came about, but there is a pipe replacement number to cover those unknowns. That is just an annual amount that is focused on just pipe replacement.
So we're just going off of basically life expectancy
Correct.
of the asset that you have.
Life
So-
expectancy, or it's anticipated design life based on now historical, as our infrastructure is now 100, not here, but just 150 years old or so. And then on pump stations, mechanical,
Correct.
you're looking at 25 years for mechanical. And so that's just an automatic trigger. Start looking at it. Then we talk to the ops guys. Hey, what are there issues here? Known issues, and stuff will rise to the top that could be 18 years old because of issues. And there's stuff that's 35 years old, cruising along. And so through the CIP prioritization, working with Dennis and his team, working with the ops guys, we come up with the plan of here's what's needed for the next 6 years. And then everything that's not imminent, you just kind of push out to 20, so you've documented it. And then stuff move, I mean, day one after this is applied by ecology, the plan is, it's a living document,
Right.
so it just keeps moving, but yeah, so it's historical knowledge, historical data. Now with the models and with GIS, more stuff is getting documented, so as you move forward, you're looking back through a more concise database than sending the EIT up into the mezzanine.
Yeah.
Well, we
absolutely.
did conduct
So,
assessments for your lift stations as part of this, so we were on site in those stations, you know, looking.
That's what I was
looking
wondering.
Visual,
Right.
right, we weren't getting into.
no, of course not.
That, but there was documentation of that in the plan, and then you can see. Well, we talked about length of pipe and how old and how many feet of X diameter, inch diameter pipe and how old it is and that sort of thing, and so. When we're looking at the CIP then too, sometimes with the pipe especially, we kind of just apply X many feet per year is assumed to be replaced, right? Unless there are the areas that we have TV information on, or that we've heard that, you know, has real I&I issues or really, you know, keeps failing, we have to keep fixing it, so then that's part of the top.
Or you get some, different types of pipe, right?
Correct.
I mean, there's probably some clay still in some places, right? So you gotta, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And ecology cares most about capacity. So
Sure.
the model kicks out, it's through the model and then through observation from the O&M staff. Anything that's capacity automatically goes to the top. That is the number one trigger. And then obsolescence follows that.
And I will fully acknowledge, the more, once we're through our entire system, the worse the situation is gonna be because we're gonna know what's there. This is a very old city with some very, very old infrastructure. We did a pavement repair out front today. We have a hand-built manhole right on brick. So we have very, very old infrastructure, and once we have that information, the need is gonna grow.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of curious about. How do you have that pipe? Thank you, appreciate it.
So I just want to make sure I was clear on my question earlier. Everything about the plan, you said you build in $10,000 or 10,000 population differential, we shouldn't have.
It wasn't 10,000.
2,000.
2,000, I think,
Yeah.
and so we are, yeah, it's more conservative than, you know, by a little bit than what.
Current today population to what we have planned in this 2019, 2030. We have double that, 3170. And at the rate of our growth, we think we'll probably.
We'll blow through.
Within 2 years to get, so,
But
but just saying, so.
Is this population data used for this, is it the same population? Because you're referring to the city's population.
That's what I'm asking, that's what my original
The
question.
sewer
Right, it's only the
population.
sewer. Yeah.
Okay,
So you do have,
okay,
yes.
okay, so then that could be where this 13 comes from, but that's why I was.
Sorry, that was a good clarification. I didn't even think about.
I see what you're saying.
And that's why these are,
That's what I asked, right?
well, and these are, plans that don't, you know, it's not when you do every 30 years, it's especially in, you know.
Well, and to your point, because what's the other?
West Valley
Down.
Utility District.
They take off a portion of the city, I mean, you turn around off this way. And so, yeah, that would not count as part of your sewer population, so you've got that whole swath going.
And I know it's beating a dead horse to get back on it, but I agree with John, because a lot of our growth is west right now, and it continues to grow at a rapid rate.
Yeah.
You know, also with folks from Bremerton that are, you know, they're in there, but I think we're well covered, and like you said, it's a living document, so that's it, I'm done.
No. Oh, okay. After we get through the capital improvement planning, we look at the financial program, and I think as Dennis mentioned, this was a kind of a two-part effort. SCS Group did a great study. We used a different consultant to help us take that information from SCS and make it suitable for the general sewer plan. Anyway, so we talk about your financial program in chapter 9. Basically goes through financial. I know this is really an important thing. Folks reading this general sewer plan, talking about the background of policies, that it goes all the way up to your 6-year financial plan and projected sewer rates. Again, this is table 912 from the document, and it's hard to read, because again, of that, a little bit green, but that talks about projected rates for the next 6 years, 5 years. Chapter 10 is the O&M program chapter. Again, this is a requirement by WAC, where we take a look at the city sewer personnel and what you do and how the staffing compares to similar utilities state. And we come with a recommendation on potential staffing improvements or O&M improvements in general. And two. It's a staff based on, again, the station's pipeline that is that sort of thing. And finally, the last slide in the last chapter is the reclaimed water chapter. This is pretty brief for the city because there's not a lot to say here, other than there's a mile of piping that was constructed back in 2011. But again, this is a requirement of the WAC to be
Looks like use and it doesn't go anywhere.
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure if, I think that's the case, right? Like it was installed and then we're just waiting.
I could be misremembering, but I think there was a single user and then that user stopped taking it. And I think it's just streaming for the dumps to go into the sound. But I think that's the case because yeah, I don't think they are distributing any reclaimed water. It's just remodeling.
So that's the overview. Yeah. Next steps, obviously, we've had a couple meetings now with fine folks, and then it will need to, you know, have further before it's adopted. It needs to go to ecology also for that review. So,
How long does that normally take?
well, Madison Diaz is who we've been working with. I think she's going on parental leave, however, so I'm not sure she's stepping in for her. But she's pretty quick with her turnaround, to be honest.
There is a regulatory requirement of 60 working days.
16.
60.
Oh, 16. Like, oh, 16 is fast.
So.
But it is ecology and health are both having a hard time due to staffing meeting those. But Madison has been hitting the 60 days, but again, she like imminently going on for.
Yes.
So with what was brought up by Eric about the asset management plan being updated, what is the requirement to update the plan? And if so, should we look at updating it a little bit sooner? Because as we put all of our assets in, as you were talking about, Eric, it's obviously going to make a difference in the impact of the plan.
There is not a requirement to have an asset management, like there's not a regulatory requirement for a certain asset management system. But as you are spending more time getting to know what the condition of your system is, it's probably time, and with the growth in the city, it's probably time to look at looking at a asset management system. You can get them that are tied into your models, and so
No, we have one. What I was asking was, go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
Update the plan.
No.
I mean, but you're given more information.
That's what I was
what
wondering.
do you, I apologize, I don't
No,
know, what do you guys use for?
Cartographic,
Oh, okay.
But if when you get your Lines TV and everything kind of into that program, and given your population, I mean, you could look at another update for the general sewer plan. But-
Or even an amendment to
amendment.
this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I doubt you're gonna. For the time that it takes to do the cammering and all that, you're probably not gonna get too far ahead of another update.
Okay.
And there is no regulatory requirement for sewer plan updates like there are for water. Water is a dictated 10 years. So if you were to see either growth fall off or growth even surprise you more than it is, that would be a driver to take a look at the plan again. The good thing though with the modeling and those sorts of things. That's it. You can be constantly looking at your system through the model for capacity issues that won't address the obsolescence issues, but.
Thank you.
And it's a requirement due to have new development.
So we got an online comment or question from Director Nick Baum.
I was just going to mention concerning the schedule of updating the sewer plan. One of the things that DCD would recommend is that we get these technical plans on the same cycle as our comprehensive plan, so that when we adopt new growth targets, we are doing the system planning at the same time, because the GMA does require that your capital facilities plan, which lists all your planned projects, be consistent with your comprehensive plan. And so ideally, I know Paulsbo did all of their system plans together with their comp plan, and so that's a place that I would recommend that we get to. But our next comprehensive plan update is not until 2034, I believe, is the new deadline under the new 10-year schedule, and so that work will start in 2032.
Thank you, Nick.
And I did want to say too that I believe it is in our 6-year CIP. I keep shutting it down, but we do have it as a placeholder at the end of our CIP that we will start the process. And so it's identified as part of the fund.
Yep. Just keep. Site plan. Cool. Okay. Is there?
There's no much bias.
So you want to talk about reclaimed water? I'm curious.
I
So,
know about it.
what's that?
Are you talking about West Sound?
So this chapter 11, we have that, and there's a chapter 4 because it is dictated by WAC, but there's not much there.
I think it's like 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, it's a very short chapter, but it just has to talk about what is in your system for reclaimed water. So that was built, a while back now, and may just be extreme competition, so.
I don't think they're using it. So it's West Sound, it's the purple pipe,
Yep.
and I don't believe they're using it for.
Okay.
It just discharges out and it goes into Sinclair in that right now.
Okay.
Thank you, that was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Look forward to seeing future recommendations. Did you have a follow-up?
Well, I wanted to talk about money, but I got cut off, so whenever I can, let me do that.
Are we good with concert?
So we were talking with this finance committee and there that one of the recommendations, we're looking at staffing levels over two. Can you just talk a little about what you saw from staffing levels compared to our assets and?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, I believe. I'm gonna find it, so we're looking at this on our trip over, but we compared again your assets to your staff and looked at. Here we go, it's section 10.4 when you get to that, but we looked at staff based on pipe and staff based on lift station. And
Which are common metrics
For a sewer
compared, like 100,000 feet of pipe and then for like number of staff lift station.
so looked at employees per 100,000 linear feet of pipe and per pump station, and you come up with about 1.05 employees for your length of sewer pipe and 0.2 employees for your pump stations. And so looking at the average, we looked at a bunch of different cities as well as districts and compared what their staffing levels are to yours. And the average employee for the length for that 100,000 linear feet of pipe was 2.1. So you're off by about an employee because you were cities at 1.05 versus that 2.1. And then for the lift station, the average employee per pump station or lift station is 1.23. And again, you were at 0.2. So there's an employee that a delta there. So that's how we came up with the 2 additional staff.
And it's compared against the average too, because there
Right.
is a range there.
Right, yeah, I was just gonna say, because West Sound Utilities District,
Right.
even though that's length of pipe, that's also those 50 employees, does their whole reclamation. The whole sewage plant,
Right.
where we don't have a sewage plant, so
Right.
you almost have to throw that one out. That's on the high side, yes.
By staffing, we're discussing field staff, maintenance staff.
Yes.
Yeah, because when you have someone that just works in the office, right, oversees lift stations, all that jazz. Then you have someone running back or doing flushing, someone doing TV in, I mean,
We have 4.5 employees
for sewer.
for sewer.
Or,
That's field employees. So that 0.5 employee is our city electrician who does everything.
sure, how many, it does matter, how many storm employees we have?
We have, I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you that this year,
How many water employees we have?
I think we're at 7 or 8. And streets is low, because I know that's coming next, and so is parks.
Yeah.
With that,
Stuff.
I think it's.
What I've heard, just reverse. And is there like, I'm asking as far as, is 7 a lot? Is that a lot?
I can tell you that,
I mean, seven for water and 4 for sewer. If we need to increase one, you slide somebody over, because I mean,
I don't know how to answer that.
for every home that has water, we have sewer.
Yes. So it's the funding. So the 7 employees, half of one is the.
The electrician that we share.
So we have a lead. We don't have a water quality specialist. We are operating 2 separate water systems. And the amount of wells and reservoirs we have, maintenance is pretty.
That exceeds lift stations.
Yeah. Well, the number of lift stations is astronomical, but yeah. Do you have any insight?
I knew you would answer that.
Yes.
I don't have
All
it
right.
on my either. To me, it seems low, because I know your system, how many things you're operating, but.
So I'll just relate it to where I was previously. Their population was very similar when I left to here. I think they were like at 22 or 23,000. I believe we had 11 water employees. Any of the field crews, I always break it down that you should have. I mean, you can't go work out on the road with 3 employees or 4 employees, because you have to have traffic control. You're gonna have a truck driver, operator, ground person. If you're running the factory, you gotta have 2 people.
To find space, you have to have.
Yeah, you have to have a attendant. So
I was wondering if those numbers were normal, for going over that.
they're.
I think what we talked about is when we added FTEs in this last one,
We
right?
did,
We added them because we were doing this water meter replacement project. Right?
correct.
Replacing all the meters, and the radios, so we added FTEs just for that purpose, so. The deal we cut was, hey, these guys are focused on doing this project, and so we could get through it as quick as possible, as cost effective as possible. Still not quite that, but we're close. We're like 47 manual replacements away, but those are big tough ones now. So.
Have we made a 0.5 though with our new meters?
Well, here's the challenge. This is one reason we want to upgrade such turnover.
Oh,
Getting guys in, train them up and come on. So that was the selling points going radio leads, is that you certainly have to have this revolving door at your meter reading.
Correct, yeah.
So a couple reasons why we're on the staff level, that's always up and down. In particular, we have some staff that have been in and out issues. So we've not been at full capacity all year. And that's been the reason why our project's been quite to the time where we originally hoped. And what people's personal lives. So I don't know if we do have the full 7 individuals. I think we have 7 FTEs that count in my payroll tape. I don't know if we actually have 7 people on front. I think that's where I was trying to go my mind. That means I couldn't get there, so I think I'm missing 2 in my mind there.
So once the project, you talk about hiring for this project, but once the project is complete, then are you just gonna look at attrition to maintain a different, lower staffing level?
I think once we get there, then we'll talk about it, yeah. So one, get there as soon as possible.
What's the expectation of the 47 left?
Well, these are the manual ones, and so these are more, take more time than we've been doing. So we're also putting new ones for new development, and now we're to the old city, digging up old pipe, putting beer boxes, so they take longer. I don't know if we have an estimate on.
Yeah, that's my question. Do you have a time budget for how long it might take?
They're extensive work. Some of them where they're located is problematic, where the property line is compared to where the meter is located. So these are the most challenging. And I,
So we don't hear the answer.
We have-
No.
no.
No expectation. Can we look into seeing your thing? Yeah, that could be.
So well, I'm not sure I'm following the question.
So I think this is what we, you know how we have the regular water?
Correct.
Haven't had for a month. So we need to reschedule that and get a check in with the team, see if, kind of when they think they'll get 47 completed. And manual placements.
So what's the end game that we're looking for? Like what to answer the question?
What I wanted to know is when we have this project wrapped up,
Okay,
so we can actually gain some capacity in our FTE.
gotcha.
Yes.
And then what would we do with that FTE? Is it possible we reposition that FTE in the sewer program rather?
So staffing, you can slide staffing around, right? I'm not sure how your union works, but like slide staffing around. I mean, budget's budget, right? You're not using sewer dollars for storm dollars, you're not fixing those. But staffing wise, you know, that's what I was kind of curious about, was how we found that.
No, I was just gonna ask that this is a staffing issue, which may also run into budget, that it may be time to move on to the other project, because the consort was here talking about sewer capacity. And I don't wanna delay them from finishing their discussion and then letting them go, and then we move into the
Eric, that's
next.
just it.
Then we move in. Yeah.
I think it's a fair question, and when I
Yeah.
asked Jeff. That same question, he said, no, I can set that team. So, okay, we'll have to have that discussion once we put in the project, we're gonna lay this out to council, what. Do we do?
Or near that.
Because by the time we get to that's, you know, a certain amount of time, we're having more demands, we're having more wells online. We have a lot of maintenance that we're not doing, that we need to be doing. Similar story, wrap this back to sewer, back to what you guys are saying as far as what we're not doing in the sewer program. So I think that's why I want to hit on what your findings were for FTEs. So I think the question I would ask if you guys, well, if we get these two guys, what are they going to be doing? I just don't understand it myself, I don't know. So maybe let's move that.
So our lift station maintenance, that's one of the things that we've identified in our asset management that we need to be proactive on. We have this brand new facility, $20 million facility. It's the biggest sewer facility the city's ever had. So regular reoccurring maintenance. There's things that we're doing that are proactive that are in the CIP, lift station controls. We're about to be fully automated with alarm systems. The TV inspection, that is huge. It's gonna come with bad news, probably, just
And the team inspection, you do two crews with that.
two people. There's two people, and sometimes
Correct.
sometimes you need four because it's out in the traffic lane, so you have to flag it. So if you got 4 sewer people, and then you also have to clean the lines before you TV it.
So
So
this is never been done, as I understand.
we've been pecking away at it. It's not going as fast as anybody would like, because before you TV it, you gotta clean it. So that's 2 people in the Vector, it's 2 people in the TV truck, that's 2 flaggers. It's, yes.
So the answer is no,
Though that we haven't TV'd it,
it's never been done.
we've started, we've been TVing,
Have we completely TV?
not in our system, no.
But they had, that's something important in your content, and so you're outside of my expertise at this point, so maybe just anything with the history, but we had contracted that out prior to 2018.
Yep, we brought the truck.
And then we made a decision to invest into ourselves, buy the TV truck. FTE. But everybody did contract.
So our last known full TV was 2018.
It was not.
It wasn't. That wasn't full.
It wasn't.
So historically, people will go, agencies will go out and they'll contract and they'll do like 2 weeks a year. It's try to see what their worst area is, and it's assumptions, right? It's like what the crew's talking about, where their problem spots are. That's where they'll go, that's where they're gonna go and target. Some NPDS requirements for stormwater, you gotta do so many weekly TV inspection, so. But no,
What percentage of the city has it?
I don't have that answer. That's stuff we're still building out in asset management. And we've only had the program for a year, just over a year.
And even when you go to smoke test the lines,
Yes.
I mean, then you're gonna have to have, you know, flaggers, someone running the smoker, someone chasing it. You know, I mean, that's 6, 7 people on that crew. The full crew.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I don't have.
We don't know where we're at. We don't know where we're, what percentage.
As far,
down
I
by the end
could,
of
I
the
could
year.
find out and tell you pretty quickly. I'll follow up.
And was there an expectation set by council when we invested in that equipment?
If there always is an expectation, but that other things take precedence with that.
It is very
We're not-
common that the TV gets pushed to the side because it's proactive and you have to be reactive at times. So it's not uncommon that is what is sacrificed when there are other issues.
Is there a state requirement though, how many lines need to be inspected? No, not for that, not for.
And I think it's helpful to remember that we are transitioning as a city to be more specialized. For the longest time, the city policy was public works man could do anything. There were water, sewer, parks, street. So when you talk about the priorities, sewer wasn't always the highest priority, right? You have your streets streets, parks were some of the priorities, so that would take a dive. I had the same amount of FTEs and we had less FTEs than we do today. So again, we're growing, we're building, we're trying to put the right things in place, specialize our departments, have the water team, have a sewer team, specialized, dedicated to projects that we're accomplishing, checking off plots, right? And it's welcome to the team and we're transitioning, doing it.
We're just looking for efficiency, right?
So, yeah.
Where I do my best work, and how can you know where you're gonna be by the end of the year if you don't know where you're at?
What your benchmarks are, and we have it, I just don't know what it is. I will fully state that our current state is we are 100% reactionary. There's opportunities where we're becoming proactive. I feel like we're turning a corner. We are up to 26 full-time employees, and I believe when I started 2 years ago, we were at 21 or 20. So if you think about that in perspective, you have the people the size of a classroom that are maintaining every bit of the city's infrastructure. So we're short.
For sure, and
So, I'm gonna back that, right?
Yes.
I have half the employees I had a year ago,
Maintaining the entire city?
running my business. And I have seen a 15% decrease in outputs. Right, so it's not always about the people, but the point is, it can be about efficiency.
We have to do it safely too. So, and our rules, I will always remind everybody, our rules that we have to follow are a little bit more stringent than private contractors. We have to follow prevailing wage rules, low bid. It's not the same market conditions, like a contractor. So that's what we run up against. So.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to move us on now if we could. I think we've.
Yeah,
Going down
I
rabbit
think
hole here.
I think we're gonna reserve some time for you, but at the end, maybe just with no. If we can let them get through the remainder.
I thought they were done.
Yeah, we're done.
That's the end of the.
All right.
Yeah, we have 2 more large presentations to go.
But I had major questions on billing, and that was part of this whole,
No, this is next discussion. This is not with Consort. This
no,
is-
not with them.
Yes.
The follow-up.
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna say thank you.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
you.
Then go, business.
All right.
Oh, thank you so much.
Are you sharing again?
That's way papers, not out of work. On a homeowners. That's like.
Okay, so I just wanted to briefly touch on following up on their presentation, the rates. This is what I have talked about. Again, actually, I'll start with. Start with this timeline. Okay, so just to reorient everybody with how long we've been working with sewer study. Contracted with FCS group in July of 2023. So it's been nearly 18 months working with sewer study. We discussed this at the utility committee on June 10th this year. They presented their findings. They presented the work study that night. That we then discussed one more time at the finance committee on the 17th meeting. They finished their draft report, which should be in your packets around August 6th. So they have the draft report ready to be finalized. There's been comments from staff. Similar to council comments on staff. Here's where we are tonight, talking about this GSP. And I just want to get in touch, remind everybody that we've got steps still time. We anticipate having a public hearing on the sewer rates next Tuesday. Open the public hearing, allow the public to comment, close the public hearing, there is no action. It's just a public hearing. Within the anticipated action date of October 14th, which is the first meeting in October, to set sewer rates. Things we're allowed to have sewer rates go into effect as of January 1st, 2026. Again, this is all consistent with the plan and what we talked about throughout the year. So with that, I just want to kind of go back. Go back to what the sewer rate proposal is currently. There we go. So again, just as a brief reminder, the FCS group did a forecast of expenses for the next 6 years. So they identified how much funding we need, how much funding we would need to operate. They just did a calculation to see revenue we would need. And what they found is that we would need to raise revenue by roughly about 3.5% to meet our obligations over the next 6 years. So that is the first line up there at the table, is that if we do nothing as far as rate structure, we would have, they would put a 3.5% increase to the rates to meet our financial obligations over the next 6 years from 25 to 2030. But part of that work, the finance department asked them to look at our non-residential structure where we have 20 plus different rates. And we wanted to simplify that. We talked this before, but it's a very complex structure. It's inefficient, and we would prefer something administratively friendly. So they proposed and did the work that we would go to this residential rate and non-residential rate. That's the bottom table there. So under this new structure, the residential rate proposal would be $151. Again, our current rates are $163. So they're proposing there would be a decrease in residential rates starting in 2025 through 2030. And we'd be introducing a new rate, a non-residential rate, that would replace the non-residential rate table of 20 plus different categories. This table then meets the financial plan outlined by FCS Group and is consistent with the GSP. So that's just a reminder on that. The second table I have now for your consideration is involving the two FTEs that came up in Consort's work. So the FCS Group's study was finalized. They were on a parallel path, but Consort was still doing their work on the O&M. And so Consort identified that there was a deficiency in FTEs and that they recommended additional FTEs to fully maintain the system. That's why I was trying to push them to talk about that a little bit more. That was their recommendation. So after we learned that, we went back to FCS Group and asked them to recalculate the rate if council were to fund those FTEs. If the council said, yes, we support that, we think that makes sense, and assuming yes for that, what would the rates support that? Because now would be the time to embed those costs into our next 6-year plan. So with those costs, it only costs about $1.50 more on non-residential and residential rates. So it'd be 153 rather than 151 in 2026. So I'm just gonna leave that up there because that's kind of why I wanted to introduce to you guys. We talked about the finance committee. I don't know if the finance committee wants to weigh on anything as far as our discussion. But that's what I need from this group tonight is direction on the rates, because we'll have the public hearing next week. I have an ordinance with the original rate design with the non-residential residential rates that we've talked about back in June. So decision is any direction different with the two FTEs.
So just, this may be simplifying it, but basically what are trying to make it more equitable for the users is the way I read it. In other words, the residential had been carrying part of the total cost. And this is now based on ERUs as opposed to, was it 21 that we had different rates that we had based on whether, what type of business, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
So it's directly ERU related.
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable to me. Their finance, what do you guys talk about?
Well, our only real thought on it, I mean, I think we all agreed that it was a market to do our only real discussion topic. Looking around whether we had this 4.5% increase per year, averaged it out, at a flat cost in the next through 2030.
Sorry, I'm missing you on that one.
So I think the average on this is gonna be, if you take 153.05 and you go from 182, the average is like 167 and some change. So rather than starting at 153, started this coming year at 167 and some change and remaining stable with that.
Oh, I see. Okay, a flat rate across for those. I got you now.
And
Okay.
then your recommendation was not to do that, but to step it.
Well, we really didn't come to any agreement or conclusion on
That's
that.
the way it is now, right? It's stacked, and I said, if you just take those dollar averages, you average them on the same 5 years. The average is $167,
Right.
40 some, it was just under 50 cents, whatever the actual number was. Which was about 2.7% increase, which is a lot easier to stomach rather than.
Right, except you're asking people to pay, your people are paying a little bit more up forward for a stable
For a
stable rate
as opposed
over the
to-
5 years.
Because the one person I had, well, you're still getting me to 180.
Yeah, I got that part.
And
It's
it's
just
never gonna come back down, and I did
for those 5
put them
years.
back, and said, well, we are trying to say that we're trying to take utilities down, you don't see that very often, but never say never is when I step back, but they're like, it just feels like a bait and switch, you're trying to butter me up today to get me to that number, because when the 2030 comes along, I'm like, well, I hear you,
Yeah.
I get it.
There's two
And all
ways,
we've done is increase.
Right. and there's 2 ways of looking at it. So
Here's the kicker on this, and I talked with Noah a little bit. Previous to this particular. In years past, the guys that have been on council for long periods of time, we've gone through situations, uncomfortable situations where the rates have been stable for many years. They've been held stable to the point where, my gosh, we're even our rear ends, and we need to make a rate change, and it's a uncomfortably large rate change at the end of that, or when we had to make that decision. Would we be hamstringing future council by doing essentially the same thing this time? By setting that flat rate for 6 years, and then the 2031 council, city council at that point, now is faced with those same types of uncomfortable decisions. Because we're at the same position, and it would be a huge looking increase to our citizens. So that's. So how do we consider? How do you do that?
Oh my gosh, okay,
what, yes, I just had one fall on him, but I'll wait.
I've been waiting.
Yep. I know.
Okay, community input. You saying we have it next week for community input, is that right? For they to talk, is that, are they only getting 1 week notice? Where are we putting that out for our community? Cause I just heard that we're supposed to do 2 weeks for a community input. So is that, I didn't see it on our government page. Is it in the newspaper? Because this is really important for community input, and here we have a topic tonight.
Ask Randy, what is the normal advertising to get public notice for public?
In general, the rule is 5 to 7 days.
So it's 5 to 7 days. I thought I heard.
Budget, which is different than public hearing for revenue.
Certain topic of rate changes or certain public hearings, the statute will dictate how long you have to give the public notice. This particular section, and Charlie can confirm if this is correct, but there is not a set timeline, so the average is 5 to 7 days is what we historically get.
Okay, so
Is
I
that
think
correct, Charlie?
Correct, yeah. The 2 weeks notice, Councilwoman, is for budget hearings, and that's not what this is. That's a different statutory requirement.
Okay, so I would think this would get out tomorrow, which would be a week or 5 days for the community to weigh in on the government page or whatever, because it's Tuesday and that would be 7 days next week. So I'm always concerned about the public knowing and transparency of what's going on. So that's one thing. And then also on a few things. Now,
But I just also, I don't remember your previous slide, but I believe the next meeting is just a hearing, no action, and then you'll do a second hearing 2 weeks after that, so it'll probably be about 3 to 4 weeks before the council actually makes a final decision on it, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe, as you probably just heard, I believe only required to hold one public hearing, so that was gonna be next week. But the action would not take place until October 14th.
yeah, oh, that's
And there'll
great,
be another
that's
hearing.
plenty of time. Okay,
Well, I'm gonna plan a second public hearing on the same night of action, but we can, I just was following.
They have the opportunity to speak about the rate change.
Oh, sure,
And
sure,
in
yeah,
addition to next week.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay, good. Now, I was going over, my computer died, I didn't get it, I guess it was ready yesterday, but dead, so that's why I got some of my notes. Now, on page 19, I have 3.5. This up here,
Yeah, so
you're saying 4.5, so I feel like my notes didn't have that on.
Those are revised costs, you see at the top, but there's not.
So I started this conversation by saying, I'll go back one slide. Here's the original proposal. But based on Consort's finding of
Yes.
additional FTEs, this is what that would look like. So that was what I was presenting to you guys to discuss. You have two different tables here. One that factors in those two FTEs for sewer, and that's this 4.5%. Or you have the non-two FTEs, which was prior work that we had already reviewed for 3.5%.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's the only one I got on here, so. I don't know if I got the 4.5.
No, I mean, this is that's like.
Okay, we just got that today or tonight.
Tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like,
We're looking at it.
Okay, well, okay, so that surprised me, but now is that going to go on I thought we just raised, I mean, we have the sewer, that's what we want to do the sewer flow. And when I was looking up on this, Bainbridge wasn't even on here, and then we had Paulsville, Carver, Kingston, Bremen, Port Orchard, all this. My calculations were less than what the on the sewer flow so Port Orchard was 163 that you said. For some reason, I don't know why I got 81. So dollars, so
Monthly, we're gonna that's by month, that's every 2 months.
oh, so you're, yeah,
Just
so you're
double it,
going every
just
2
double
months.
it.
Well, that's
So it's fine.
All of those, it's 2 months.
exactly, that's when we get our bill. Okay, so when I was doing all that, now when we get the bill, because I thought we just did the utilities impact. And so when I go over this, I thought our utility bills went up, probably a little after 2020, because I remember when I was saying it was $20 more every other, when we get that billing. Doesn't that continue with our billing? Because, so my billing rate, well, I don't do a lot of water, so I got sewer 163, the storm drainage is 40, well, my bill altogether is 286. So when we do this impact, is that like $10 more on our bill? So it will basically in 5 years be $3,340, 72 cents or something. Is that how we're gonna do this? So it's gonna go on this bill, right? Our sewer, water, and.
Yeah, we're discussing the sewer aspect of it.
Well, exactly, our bill is sewer, all of it.
This is just
Just
that element.
I get that, but doesn't that go on this bill? I get it.
If you are a water source, some customer that comes on the bill, yes.
Yes, yeah, so that's
But not
what my
all
question
customers
is.
are all water server, right? You have some that are west side, so depending on the customer,
Mhm.
they will see that. If you're a sewer customer of the city, this would show up on your sewer customer bill.
Uh-huh. In the city, but if you're not in the city, then you wouldn't, it's, but.
If you're not in the service, you would not receive a bill. This is only for city residents.
Well, and then he just said,
West Town, we provide
West Town.
stormwater, so they can just get a stormwater bill from the city,
uh-huh,
correct? Just stormwater?
well, it's nice just to break it down for people to, they understand, you know, what the rate is gonna go up. So so it's our job, you're saying right now, we either are going to, say 3.5 or 4.5 is what you want the city council to vote on in the near future. right?
Yeah, that's the direction I'm for. That's okay. Let's wind it back just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So FCS, they did a study to see what revenue we would need in order to satisfy all our financial obligations in the system in 2025 and 2030. In that analysis, they determined we need to raise revenue 3%. And we asked for a rate structure that would do that. And so that's what you have before you is the rate structure that would meet that need, with the caveat that I want to simplify the non-residential table to a single rate. So that's what we have here presented to the council is here's a new rate structure and new rates going forward that would meet our financial obligations. The alternative is, again, looking at the 4.5%, sorry, I keep flipping back and forth. If council were supported and wanted to fund these FTEs, I would propose we make that part of this plan now, rather than go through that mid-biennial or even next year and asking for FTEs and it not be included in the financing fund. Right, because at that point, it's not included in the financing rates at all. So that's why I'm bringing forward now, because the timing seems to make sense. And that's why you have the two proposals for you. I'm looking for direction if these are the right proposals. Right now, I have teed up the 3.5%, because again, the 4.5%. You know, in the last week that we learned this and kind of went through this exercise. So I'm kind of getting direction from two different ways. A, if you like this direction, two FTs, and then alternatively, we had a couple of council members of the finance committee suggest a different approach to rates, which was the average of the 6 years. Let me just keep it flat for the 6 years and see how everyone feels about that.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, my question, to go back to Margaret's comment about flat rating for 6 years, is somewhere in the middle. We say here.
It's 5 years.
2025. 5 years, okay.
That's 6 years.
Sorry.
Anybody keeps saying.
Yeah, I know, take out 2025, you're right, okay, for 5 years. And this may be more work than it's worth, and that is split the baby, so to speak, and do it for 3 years and then 2 years. You know, so there's a rate increase, but it's not as much on that year as opposed to at the year end of 2031. I mean, that's a different way of looking at it. You know, also, it's just trying to keep, I understand keeping it consistent, which I kind of like, but I understand when you get to the end of it, you're gonna have, you know, you're gonna have an increase of some sort because of that. I like the 4.5 because of the, you know, of the FTE. So I can support that. It doesn't, you know, on that, still lowers the rate for residential if we go with the one, you know, with the yearly increase. I don't know what that would, do you have that there? What it would look like if it was steady for 5 years? I'm sorry. Steady for 5 years, there was no increase. I mean, you don't want to say no increase, that would be steady state. Do you have that one?
No, that wasn't a calculation I did, that was a.
Yeah, just take the average of 26 through 30.
Okay,
Down together, divide it out, right? Should,
Yeah, we can do the average.
yeah.
yeah, that's a rough way to do it. Okay, no, so that's my 2 cents. What's 4.5? I'm just throwing out a different idea, that's all.
And I'm gonna piggyback on the FTE thing, because I'm just curious. Budgetarily, like. We don't have enough money to add this down out of that fund today, and we charge a rate of $162. We take that down to 151.
For residential,
How, at what point in that study are they saying, and at what rate? They go out and get a bid from Debbie, or we're using existing infrastructure to know how much they put aside for the budget for those FTE. And at what point in the plan can we actually add those two heads?
So. Let's say what I think I heard you say. So the assumption I believe we made were that we'd add for the 4.5%, we'd add one FTE in 2026 and one FTE in 2027.
And there is a vehicle, but we don't need a vehicle for employees. There's one vehicle to account for both employees.
So we assumed that.
And that was in the plan. That was part of the input that we gave to FCS.
Okay, so the evaluation of these additional FTEs is only factored into this last slide here.
I understand.
Okay, yes, so.
I'm trying to get that. How do they get that 1% equals 2 FTEs?
1% is additional.
I know, so they went from 3.5.
Yeah.
Says no FTEs, 4.5% instead of the 3.5 gets us 2 FTEs.
Yeah, so we had the conversation with FCS, we said, hey, council, we're breaking 2 FTS. I don't know what council want to do, is there a way to come up with a rate, so I can talk with council about this? They asked, will give us cost figures, so give them the cost of what it would cost for new sewer FTEs salary. And a vehicle, that's assumption we made. And we assumed that one would come in 2026, the other would come in 2027. So there's something that they come back.
Those were inputs that we gave FCS.
Yeah, and then they went back, correct, and that's how they came back to the new.
I do not like telling council members I don't know the answer to something. I just try to pull up the information out of our cartograph, and they're working on it right now. It's down for, it's locked out, so they're getting upgrades. If you would like, I'm all for being accountable, and I want our taxpayers, ratepayers to be confident in our system. I can have Katie come next Tuesday night, and I can do a 5-minute presentation, what our stats are for storm, what our current state is. We have thousands of open tasks that we've created across the city. So we're buried, but we're making progress. But if that's, I'm more than willing, like a quick 5 minutes to stats before the public meeting, would that help?
Not charging, more information is always.
Or if a slide or two is.
A slide or two, I might present it. Yes, I will have that information. What our current state is, TV inspection, I try to pull it, I can't do it, so.
So back to what I need, sorry, basically like any direction in the council, sort of to craft the ordinance for the public hearing. And again, right now I have it crafted as the 3.5%. Again, now I'm looking to see what we change it, do anything here, do we move around these off, is there anything different?
Mark's got his hand up first.
Yeah, fine.
So based on what we heard from our consultants, the design team, and local Dennis, we're behind on general maintenance. And so I'm in support of adding 2 FTE and the program for adding them into our rates. I think that's one of the issues we need to provide guidance for tonight, correct?
I think that's probably the first round of show of hands.
Yeah.
So you're for
Okay.
the 4.5.
No.
No, I'm for adding 2 more full-time employees.
But that's
Yeah,
four
it's
point
not
five.
sense that and it equals out to a 1% more.
It's 4.5.
4 point, that's basically, it's either 4 point or 3 point.
Oh. Okay, so we got a second thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm still shocked that we needed consultants to tell us that we're behind on maintenance. No, I mean, it's always theirs. I mean,
I am too.
I'm just, the whole thing just, I'll be honest, like, confuses me. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
No, I was gonna say, it's not a shock. I mean, that's one of the reasons that past council has gone for the asset management plan, because we knew we were gonna start seeing all this from past. So, I mean.
I'm sitting here listening to them, and I don't think anything they said, we honestly couldn't do it in-house, what they presented to us. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, they could have taken the previous one they gave us in 2020, added assets to it. Not a lot. We know what maintenance we've done since then. We know what assets we've added since then. I'm just really pretty confused by it all. We need to add employees, so, but part of doing business, but
But keep in mind, as presented, this would be a reduction in rate
Yeah,
residential.
that's where it's going.
no, well, I understand, but like,
For sure.
I definitely have,
Let's just make sure we have that asterisk.
well,
Until 2020.
Okay.
and then, yeah,
And Charlie has to read it.
Yeah, let's,
go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, just real quick, the question that seemed to be posed was sort of the need for a rate study, and just there is sort of a legal justification for why we have to utilize a rate study for the purpose of setting rates. I'm happy to discuss that with the council if you'd like that background, but that is the impetus for utilizing a consultant for this work product. Because if our rates are not set by a study, then there are legal risks, legal issues associated with that. Again, happy to discuss that if needed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate the heads up on that, because I didn't know that for sure.
So-
But it still confuses me, but
so going back to 2 additional FTEs.
Yeah.
I think I heard 3 so far. I'm a 4th.
I say no, I want the three, the lower one. And we just got this information to go up higher tonight. You didn't even get, I mean, I studied all this. And then you're putting this on me tonight. So, no, I don't appreciate that. For the 4.5, I don't appreciate that at all.
Did you have questions or something you didn't understand about? 4.5?
Well, I understand the 3.5 and, but then all of a sudden, oh, now we're gonna vote on by. I didn't even get to, I mean, I studied all that, but now you want our bill to go higher. And we just put last year our bill higher for our utility bill. And now we want to do it again. And, you know, and
Do you,
yeah, I understand raising bills.
no. Do
okay?
you understand the need for the additional FTE?
Yeah, oh,
Okay.
because they want another employee, 2 employees.
Well, you just struggle with what the rest of us struggle with. We talked about it in finance, right? Everybody's pocketbooks are
Right.
right? It is tight. And we get it, right? And I think that's our role, our unique role as a council member is to balance that, right? And I hear Director Lyons, and you talk to the guy on the ground, right? Like, we all know, sure, we're paying for the sins of our past. Should this population be the ones that fully pay it? I don't know that that's the right answer, right? Should that be shared over time is, I think, sort of a thought process of, should we move? Absolutely. Should it be all the way? I don't know. But I think that's the struggle here because folks are struggling to make those payments.
Sure.
You know, it's not easy. I get it. I'm also for adding FTE. I said this earlier tonight at Finance Committee. I struggle, right? We just raised stormwater, right? Water rates weren't too far before that. Impact fees went up, everything just goes up and up and up. At some point,
Every time.
this body has to say no to something somewhere. Where is that? I don't know. I don't know that it's this either, right? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'll just insert that I think being too flippant about saying no has led to sins of the past.
I agree, right? That's what I said. Having thoughtful dialogue and conversation. If the council member needs more time, then I hear that. I think we have the order we need, right? I'm gonna add, I'm also for, at least on this first side.
Yeah.
I want the extra FTE. I don't know that I want what comes with it, but that's all.
Sure.
And
And
our
then Fred.
population is growing, so can't that growth in population pay for this without raising it to 4.5?
But when you raise population, you're also by building homes, you're installing new assets, new lines, new manholes, new lift stations. Every lift station that goes in, we have to maintain those lift stations as they go in. I've worked in the field before. In this line of work, all lines of work. I don't know how you can do that job with 4 employees. That's why I asked the question. I don't know how you can maintain a sewer system with 4 employees. I'm surprised. Well, we're not maintaining a sewer system. We're putting out fires. We're chasing fires. Is what we're doing. We're not getting ahead of anything. So I don't want sewage backed up in my home.
I don't think.
nobody else does as well.
I don't really agree with that, but
Well,
that's okay, that's
and
okay.
that's okay.
I don't agree with that.
But I'll speak of 30 years of experience. I don't know how you do it with 4 employees, and I think you and I can just go for a field trip together.
Yeah.
We'll drive around. And I'll say, I'll show you literally everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, yeah, and
Honestly.
yeah, and I'll say, how does 4 employees do all this work?
So
I don't
I
think it's
want to circle us back to,
Important.
Fred, you haven't had a chance to speak tonight, so.
I support the additional FTEs, and one of the things that we talked about in finance was if the 2 was enough. The tables that they presented us on pages 90 and 91 are very confusing when you compare the miles of pipe or whatever and the stations. Those gave very different figures. So my question to Dennis is like, it's 2 people more, is that gonna be enough to maintain it? I accept that, yes, we do need more people, so I would support that.
Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just gonna go to piggyback on what Eric was saying. One of the things that during my time here, and I think you guys can comment, add on, is every time we've gotten into something major, the Marina Pump Station, Tremont, our as-bills have been horrible. And I mean, most of them are 60 years old or 50 years old. So I'm more concerned about what we're gonna find than thinking that, oh, it's okay. And that's, and you're right, John, it's, sins of the past, catching up with us, but we knew this as we were gonna grow, and that's, what we're paying for it now. But, it is a reduction for temporary, for a period of time, but inflation's also going up regardless. And so that's why I'm in favor of the 4.5. I will defer to the finance committee on the straight rate or, the increase. So I'm not that big a deal on that. 4.5 is fine with me.
So I'll give my opinion on that. I feel like we ought to step it. I think people over time may not like it, but they're also not surprised to know that their utility rates and other monthly billings are gonna go up. So I think that we try to provide relief where we can. So I think that's starting with the alternative, with the 153 in 2026 and that approach. So that's my view. I think you soften it a bit, but then when it does go up, people again don't like it, but it's not unexpected.
It was still gonna go up though if we did 3.5, isn't it?
No, it's going up, no matter.
Down initially.
No, it's not gonna go down initially. If we
Well,
did
if both-
3.5,
Yeah.
it's going up on our bill, not going down.
The sewer portion of it would decrease by about $10, $11.
Yeah, but
Even under the three.
For year one, it goes down.
And year 2.
And year 2
down.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
under 4.5, it goes down.
I don't understand, because I looked it up and it slightly goes up every year. I said, I did my bill. And I said, increase 3.5, okay, my
that's your
bill.
entire bill.
Well, yeah, I did my entire bill, but, or even if you just did the sewer bill.
You can only
If you
do
did-
the sewer.
Right, okay, the sewer, but if you do a 3.5 from today, it goes up, how can it not go down? I just don't get how it goes down.
Okay, right here. On your third bill, it's
Uh-huh.
$163.
Uh-huh,
Here's two.
yes,
Here, I pay sewer, I don't pay water.
Yeah, and- yeah.
Or city employees,
Right.
So that section, and this is technically bi-monthly, right? So that it's, you
Yeah.
pay it every other month.
every other month,
So your next bill, if we approve this, will take your portion of sewer from $168 and
163.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
down to $153.
That's the
so
reduction.
it goes down and then it goes back up.
And then eventually it gets back up to 100.
But year 2, you're still lower than you are today.
So that, again, why I would say, if we said that's 167.50 for just throwing that number out. It's slightly higher than it is today, but it also makes it even so that those fixed incomes, those types of things don't have the issues that we have here.
So basically, in 5 years from now, it will go from 163 to 182. That's what you're saying, right?
You're in tech.
And so it's gonna go down, 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 no, up for the last
We're
two,
gonna go down one,
and down again.
well, technically from the year before, it'd be up from 26.
So the next 2 years it goes down, and then the next 3 years slightly goes up.
Okay, so I think we beat this up quite a bit. If you have
Well,
further
that's good
questions.
though, but I want the public to understand some of this. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah,
So I like
yeah,
that.
if you have further questions and, please meet with Noah and Dennis as the case may be. All right.
Okay, so I heard the direction is to present the 4% table.
Yes.
Okay. Decision, we're not going with this flat.
The step.
Step to step. Well.
We're not, yeah, but I don't say, we're not voting,
We're
we're
just
giving,
going forward.
going
Yeah.
forward.
So I'm
Going to those people.
I'm
This
in
is well,
favor
you
of-
have the public hearing, right? So you do have time to do that.
Okay.
If you guys debate this and then have the public hearing directing it differently for the action item, that's still acceptable.
let's do a show of hands on as presented.
What are we, which one are we talking about?
Aye.
Oh, just this
Yeah,
step,
the
this
step.
step.
The step.
Oh, okay, I gotta make a choose. I'll go step.
Okay, so we've got enough to carry out.
Thank you.
Again, my only concern on that is at the end of this program, the jump, and it will be substantial in our citizens.
Is if we flat, if we flat.
Okay, we do a study, maybe we go down again like it did this. Can't guarantee that. I can just tell you, right? I mean, the study tells you.
Okay.
The 50
You believe what you want to believe.
But you're voting for it.
Well, because we're readjusting where the value is coming, from, where the payment's coming from.
I
From overburdening citizens in the past to now make it much more even. For businesses or what we consider non-residential here are paying more of their fair share. That allows us to lower our citizens' rates at this particular time. We probably are not gonna have that option again in 2030 when this contract is, when this agreement is up for renewal.
think that's fair.
Well, that,
All right. So. Noah. You're done? You got the direction you need on both approaches.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a step, 4.5% and see.
Okay. All right, and I don't see Nick. I think he was not feeling. Oh, there he is. Hey, Nick.
Hey, good evening. Apologies for not being there in person tonight, but I'm going to keep you all healthy. This is a continuation of our multifamily tax exemption discussion from our July work study meeting. And at that meeting, the direction that I received was to draft a multifamily tax exemption ordinance that would be roughly based on the ordinance that had been repealed in 2023. We wanted to bring forward both an 8 and a 12-year exemption, multifamily tax exemption. And we wanted to try to accomplish two things. One was to encourage the development of higher value buildings so that the city's long-term tax revenues would be more favorable than they are given what the market is currently producing. And two, for the 12-year exemption, we wanted to have a more aggressive affordability target. And so the law on 12-year multifamily tax exemptions requires that 20% of the units in the complex be affordable. That number is staying the same. What's changing is that the actual amount that somebody would pay for one of those units is going to be reduced quite a bit over what had been in our previous ordinance. So real quickly, just to recap what multifamily tax exemptions are. These programs are a property tax waiver, and cities can enact them to support local housing goals. And they apply for conversion of housing, rehabilitation, and new construction where there are at least 4 residential units. And as I mentioned, there are a variety of terms for the tax exemption, but in Port Orchard, there are only 2 tools available to us. It's the 8-year exemption and the 12-year exemption. The 20-year exemption would require us to be a high capacity transit community where we have like light rail service for the city at a certain frequency. And so we are not eligible for the 20-year exemption. Since our July work study meeting, the draft ordinance and maps that we've developed have gone to both the Land Use Committee and the Economic Development Committee. And I think both committees were comfortable with the language that was presented in the ordinance. There's a little bit of a varying recommendation concerning the maps. But I want to jump into the ordinance first, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So bear with me while I find, I have to wait for Brandy to authorize screen sharing.
So you're jumping into the ordinance itself?
And yeah, the ordinance, which is on page 169 of your packet. I'm going to share, I'm going to attempt to share a Word document here. I think this is the correct one. So you'll see that this document, it's got some strike through and underline. It has some notes in the margin. I didn't track all of the changes from the repealed ordinance. In some cases, I just provided notes indicating what had changed. But the big change here is that we've added definitions for middle housing and for mixed-use shopfront buildings, because those are two things that we are trying to encourage under the new framework, the new proposed framework. And so the mixed-use shopfront building is a definition out of our zoning code. Middle housing is now defined in state law with some of the recent housing reforms that have taken place. We've clarified what it is to be an urban center. And the law requires that to designate MFTE target areas, the city has to adopt a map and indicate where its urban centers are. So we have discretion to determine what is an urban center and what is not. We have separately in our comprehensive plan, we have Puget Sound Regional Council's centers framework, which there is no requirement in state law that the centers framework that PSRC has adopted is the same thing as an urban center under the multifamily tax exemption statute. And so I'll get to that when we open the maps, but the mapped target areas are a little bit different than our centers maps. Moving on, the big change is in section 3.48060, which is project eligibility. And we have a new subsection 6 and subsection 7. Subsection 6 establishes new criteria that would apply to all multifamily tax exemption projects. And this basically is really getting at that desire to have a higher value building so that our property tax returns long-term are going to be better in the future than they would otherwise be under current market conditions. And so under subsection 6 here, there is a menu. You have to meet one of these 4 criteria in order to receive a multifamily tax exemption, whether it is the 8-year exemption or the 12-year exemption. The first of these criteria is that the project is a mixed-use shopfront building, which would contain commercial ground floor uses. The second option is that it's a building that's at least 4 stories in height. And while our code allows for 4-story buildings, we aren't seeing many of them built. The 429 Bay Street project just at the bottom of Port Orchard Boulevard is technically 4 stories. And so that's really the first project of that height that we've ever seen, but it's waterfront. I'm told that the economics of a 4-story building do not work in Port Orchard. And so the idea here is that we want to incentivize that building because it's more valuable and the city will actually be better off long-term financially from having higher value buildings. The third option is that it is a small lot and is containing middle housing, so 4 to 12 units. This is the only one that doesn't require the mixed-use shopfront building or the 4-story height. And then the fourth one is that a project that has 100% of its parking below grade would also qualify. So that one could actually be 3 stories, but the parking would be below grade if parking is provided. There are some areas of the city, most notably on the water side of Bay Street, where parking is not required because you can't go down because you're too close to the saltwater table. And so you may have a project that didn't provide any parking that would qualify, or you may have a project that provides all of its parking underground. Section 7 here, this is taken directly out of the repealed ordinance, except that we have changed the percentage that rent has to be below fair market value. And so Again, for a 12-year exemption, you have to meet one of the 4 criteria that I just read to you, and then you'll get an extra 4 years exemption if you also provide affordable units. And this says that a minimum of 20% of all residential units in the development would be rented out for at least 25% below fair market rent for 12 years. And then there are income requirements associated with those units so that they're not rented to people who have high incomes and are just getting a discount on rent. It's actually targeting the people who need the housing. And so this had previously required that the rent be 10% below fair market value, which is it's a small discount, but it's not anywhere near as high as what is proposed under this ordinance. I will share that I met with the Kitsap Home Builders Association, and they did have concern that this 25% probably isn't viable, and they don't know that anybody would take us up on it. But I think that this certainly is a more aggressive target for us. If somebody's going to qualify for one of these exemptions, we want what I heard from the city council is we wanted greater rent relief. So that brings me to the second part of the discussion, and I'll stop there and see if anyone has any questions about the framework. I think 6 out of the 7 of you have discussed it at one committee or another, but if anyone has questions about the ordinance before I jump to the map, go right ahead.
I have a quick question. I just want to make sure I heard you correct. KBA had difficulties with 7A in suggesting that that would pencil out.
Correct, yes.
Did they provide a percentage?
They indicated that they would be doing some outreach to the city council, and so I got an email from their legislative policy analyst today. He didn't realize that our work study meetings didn't allow for public testimony, so I did encourage him to email you, and I told him that before we adopt anything, there will be a public hearing at a later date, and so there is more opportunity to provide input on this. So they had indicated that they might that it may be helpful for them to walk us through a pro forma and explain sort of the math of building one of these projects to show how they think this program would or would not be utilized. And I welcomed that suggestion and suggested that that would be helpful to you all.
Okay.
Nick, so this, if I'm correct, when I read this and in our discussions, this really helps with our missing middle, correct?
It does. And you know, one thing we have not seen a lot of in recent years are those little infill projects where you maybe have a property that's had code enforcement issues or that it's a really borderline uninhabitable house and it needs to come down. And, you know, being able to put 4 units in place of that one house right now probably is difficult to pencil. But I think with a multifamily tax exemption, that probably gets that type of project across the finish line. So that's the hope here.
Thank you.
I just have one quick question on number D, letter D, 100% parking. There are other qualifications, like somebody could have put in a triplex in a residential area and put all the parking underground and be able to take advantage of this.
So first of all, a triplex wouldn't qualify for the program because it's 4 or more units. But yes, if the parking was below grade, you would qualify. Yes. And before I jump into the maps, I had forgotten the Economic Development Committee had requested a little information, and I'm gonna share some slides with you all that you saw previously, and then there's 2 new slides that are on this slide deck. At the last meeting, I presented a case study looking at 2 different apartment complexes in Port Orchard. There was the Overlook Apartments built in 2016. And I do want to note that these were built under the first iteration of our multifamily tax exemption program. And I'm speaking of these as if they were built under the one that was repealed in 2023. And then there's the Pay-as-No Apartments projects, which was built as a 3-story project with no multifamily tax incentive, and they're paying their full taxes from day one. But very similar projects in size, number of units, and the height and form of the buildings. So I provided the tax statements at the last meeting. You can see that the taxable value of the Pay-as-No project is about $14 million. The taxable value of the Overlook is only $229,000, and that reflects the land value, not the improvement value. And so in this analysis, I basically took the Pay-as-No project, which was a 57-unit project, and I basically determined a taxable value and a tax liability per unit, just simple division. So when we compared these, we saw that the tax savings of the Overlook apartments is about $1 million over 12 years, compared to the Pay As No apartments, which is paying $126,000 annually from year one. But what has happened since our discussion in July, we actually had a pre-application meeting with another apartment project, and this one was coming in just like Pay As No, proposing a 3-story garden apartment project that would have 24 units. And the zoning at this site does allow for 4 stories, but the developer is not interested in building 4 stories. And so the idea here is that if we had an MFTE program in place that would incentivize the 4-story building, we would get a building that has 32 units instead of 24. The valuation of that building, prorated based on the Pay As No tax bill, this is an estimate, would go from about 6.1 to 8.1 million. And we would see quite a bit more property tax revenue, both to the city and to junior taxing districts annually. And so over the life of the project, you're going to bring in, a little under $8 million, depending on changes in tax policy and other things, over that 90-year period. And we did calculate that the cost, remember we talked about the tax shift, and I did include the tax shift documentation in your packet, but the cost to our existing average taxpayer would be about $10.36 per year for the first 8 to 12 years, depending on whether they also provided affordable housing or just built a 4-story building without the affordable housing. So I know that a couple of you wanted to know exactly how much this is going to cost. At least for this project, we were estimating about $10.36 per property, per tax parcel. And that average applies to both developed and undeveloped land. So there are a lot of undeveloped tax properties in the city that bring that average down a little bit, but that would be the estimated average per property owner. So that's that presentation, and then if there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them, and otherwise I'm going to go ahead and share the maps.
Fred's first, and then I think Eric and Jay then.
Nick, thank you for the 1036 attack shift. I don't know what to look at. I'm gonna look at that camera. So my question, and I'm gonna see if I can formulate in a way that you'll understand, is that that's just for the Pay As No, or the Overlook project, right? The 1036 tax shift?
No, the 1036 is for this theoretical project that we had a pre-application meeting on. If they applied for MFTE and provided us with more units, that's roughly the amount of tax that would be shifted to an average property owner in the city of Port Orchard annually, to provide that incentive and get that additional value in the $8 million in revenue over 90 years.
Okay, so my question is, we don't seem to, or I'm gonna make a statement and let me know if this is correct. If we put this program into place, we have criteria that people can use to qualify, and the council can't say yes or no based on whether or not we'd like the project. We've basically given them qualifying criteria. So my question is, at what point, we don't have a limit of the number of projects that could receive this exemption. So for example, we have Pottery Creek, we have the Overlook. What if we had more projects that keep adding to the tax shift? We don't have a limit at which we can say, you can only shift $100 and then we can't have any more, correct?
That's correct. And you have the power to repeal this program at a moment's notice anytime the council feels like it has gone or it has been fully utilized. You could pull it off the books again, although any project that was under contract would still move forward because we had made a commitment to those previously approved contracts or projects.
And it is a shift from the developer to all the other taxpayers.
Director Bond, can you bring up that last slide you just had? So if you look at the beginning of that slide, the tax revenue on that property starts at 0. If we don't have that in place, that tax burden still belongs to the citizens of Port Orchard, and that tax shift would not have shifted to this new developed property to begin with to be able to share that. So it is technically a shift, but you would have borne that burden whether or not this was in place.
I don't understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
the green line would have started below the orange line, and then at the end of the exemption, it would have slowly crossed the orange line as the revenue came in for the higher value building over time. But because there's a tax shift, the green line is always above the orange line. We're always going to be coming in ahead because for those first 8 years, the tax incentive is being paid by the rest of the taxpayers in the city.
Correct.
And if they don't do the project at all, none of it matters. We're still
Right.
gonna have to-
No, I don't think that's correct,
No.
John.
There's still a budget. We set our property tax levy based off of what we set at our budget.
That's an
But-
example.
No, if they don't,
Our property tax valuation changes on all the projects that we have in the city and what they're valuated at. Without them, without that increased valuation,
But it didn't,
That
that
would
doesn't
not-
exist if we don't give them the opportunity to do that.
but we're also not shifting tax on anybody else.
Our schools are fire.
We may have to have a conversation about, but
All right,
I want to have a conversation later.
Yeah,
I
so-
for sure want to hear that.
you had the next part.
yeah, there's several apartment complexes that have the garages below the units. Does that count? As below?
Excuse me, I was muted. Yes, that would count if 100% of the parking was below the building, but in most cases, they're providing some garages and then some surface parking. So the idea here is that if all of the parking is below the building, you're using more of the site and you're getting more buildings, more units, because the land isn't being consumed by surface parking.
Following you.
And when that program expires for that property, you have a higher valuation on that part.
Right.
I think Jay had his hand up right before you.
One of the comments I made, and Nick, and no, please weigh in, is the tax shift has always bothered me a little bit about it, and especially as you pointed out, it's on each project. The problem is, from my viewpoint, is the intangibles that are brought in by having a project completed, whether it be sidewalks, road improvements, that they have to bring in with it, people moving in and spending their money
Sales tax.
here, Port Orchard, yep. And those benefits, and that's hard to quantify. I keep trying to pin it down, not trying, but it's like, you can't say that this is gonna, definitely happen. I think for me, I'm in favor of the 8 and 12, but I want to focus on them. Again, I think we're doing that with the maps about how we're restricting is getting that missing middle for me. I think we're trying to stay away from the garden apartments and focused on the fourplex. I almost said triplex, but the fourplex and the density projects that we can get. So I agree with, I empathize with that because I went back and forth with everybody about tax shift by raising taxes. It's how do you want to use semantics? But I like the fact that we're bringing in the missing middle that the city desperately needs on that. That's my 2 cents.
Heidi,
on the 3-story to a 4-story, does the permit code, when you go to a 4-story, do you have to have an elevator? Is that why
You-
people want
You
to?
do, and that's a considerable cost. And what I understand to be the case is that the per square footage cost of a 4-story building is so much higher than a 3-story building that it does not pencil for most people to build that in Port Orchard because the rents in Port Orchard are just not high enough to justify the investment.
questions, legislation changed. Go ahead. Eric.
Yeah, I just want to add, I believe also 4 stories requires steel as well. So it's steel, yeah. So I mean, not counting the elevator and the maintenance every year on that, which is extremely expensive, but it's a lot. The issue I have is, it's not really a question, it's more of a statement. I'm really leaning towards the for 25%, and we we discussed to get an increase to that. I'm really curious, like Jay, put on your school board member hat. How do you feel about 150 units, which is a large neighborhood, not paying towards schools, you know what I'm saying? Or not paying towards fire. That's the part that kind of gets me, you know, is I try to put on my hat if I was the school board or if I was the fire department, and we're stating that, no, you're gonna service this, you know, in a 4-story building as an example. You better buy more ladder trucks, right? That's very expensive.
So the tax shift means that the school district and the fire district is not losing money. It's just being paid by the residents of Port Orchard as part of that $10.36 per year in the example of a 32-unit building. So those agencies aren't losing revenue. It's just a matter of who's paying it.
So you raised the last 2 minutes. I'm good. Thank you.
No, that's a good, but it's a good question.
Yeah, I was chatting curious, like, you know.
The other thing is, it's
Facebook.
just the residents, for those activities, it's just the resident of Port Orchard, not. outside.
Yeah. That bothers me a lot, you know, is that part.
Right, have we talked about the map, or are we gonna?
Nope, we can go ahead and move on to the map. And so the Land Use Committee and the Economic Development Committees had different recommendations. The Land Use Committee actually recommended pulling properties off of the map if the zoning didn't allow for you know, the 4-story apartment buildings. We had a couple of institutional properties that just happened to be in the center. And so this is the mapped boundary. And we removed everything in red because it's like Cedar Heights Middle School, it's Port Orchard High School, it's Givens Park. Not that development would happen there anyway. I think that there was some concern about showing that as being developable when it's not. However, the Economic Development Committee actually thought that the area between the Bethel centers ought to be included. There is one project in there that is struggling to get off the ground, the Hidden Hills project. There's also the Crawford Road properties where we have a lot of code enforcement and we would like to see redevelopment. And one of the challenges there is that the Land Use Committee said, pull all the R1 zoned properties out of there because they don't allow for 4 units on a lot. But Crawford Road is currently R1. So there's sort of irreconcilable differences between the committees in terms of the recommendation. I'm fine with either map. You know, we'll do whatever the council prefers. So the green area is the addition from the Economic Development Committee. The middle housing, you know, mostly is going to be in the area of Givens Park and the Forest Park Grocery, and then out Perry and Farragut towards Annapolis. The you know, other 4-story apartment types, we as part of the sub-area plans for Bethel Lund and Bethel Sedgwick, we did provide some additional height, so they do allow 4- and 5-story buildings in some areas as well as in Ruby Creek. And so, you know, development in that area probably isn't going to be middle housing, but would be taking advantage of the 4-story incentive. And then the Economic Development Committee also asked that we overlay this boundary with the zoning map because they wanted to see where the red properties are. And so you can kind of see we faded properties that are outside of the target area. They are kind of a subdued color, whereas the colors that really pop are in the MFTE. And so anything in a shade of red is commercial or mixed use. So that's where you would see the mixed use shopfront buildings. Orange is also our downtown mixed use. So you see that in and around downtown. And then there's the browns, which are our R4 zone where 4 stories is permitted outright. And the orange, which is R3, the orange without the crosshatch is R3. So that was just provided to help illustrate what is possible in different parts of the target area. So I need some direction from the council on which map you like and why you like it, and see if we can't reach some consensus if this is going to move forward at all.
I just want to give some detail into EDT's chat around this green
that's what I was
section,
wondering.
right?
Yeah.
So when we're sitting there and we're talking about our centers within our city, the Bethel corridor makes sense, right? You have this center over at Fred Meyer, and then you have basically the Bethel Lund centers. I don't know if we group them all together in that whole area or not, but there was just this disconnect, right? And where do we see a good chunk of our transit and moving people up and down? It just, we thought made sense to include that portion. So if you were going to increase high density, high traffic areas, it to us made sense.
My personal opinion is I don't have a problem with adding it. You know what I mean, it's like, okay, it's not a big deal for me.
I agree.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Okay, and then the second question would be the land use committee recommended pulling those red areas off the map. We do have a disclosure in the ordinance that says just because something's on a target area in the map doesn't mean that the land use ordinances actually allow the type of multifamily development envisioned by the program. So I think there was concern maybe that having these properties on the map would cause confusion. But at the same time, Crawford Road is a perfect example. It's R1. It would come on off the map as part of the land use committee recommendation. But I think that if somebody bought the properties on Crawford Road and wanted to redevelop that with all of the code enforcement challenges that we've had, that maybe is something that we would want to have on our MFTE map, even though it would have to go through a rezone before any sort of development could occur.
Go ahead, Fred.
I agree with this discussion, but my general observation about looking at the map is, I know that at one time, someone on council spoke about MFT being an incentive for waterfront development. Because it's just more challenging redeveloping in the downtown area. But when I look at a map like this, it seems like this opportunity is to a lot more than just the downtown area. And I don't see this as an incentive for downtown. With an emphasis on downtown, I guess it's my concern. So I guess the question is, if we, how much do we want to incentivize downtown, and is there a way that we might limit it to just downtown?
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I think the goal is that a lot of the areas would build up to maybe 3 or 4 stories. That type of development, because right now there is no incentive because of the topography.
We do have the height restrictions, so that
We do.
Yeah.
It doesn't override the height limitations,
Right.
on that side.
But it's just that, if we did want to incentivize just downtown, this is really not gonna do it. And, I think, if collectively that's, not our concern, I can certainly live with that, but I just wanted to bring out that we keep talking about wanting to do something for downtown.
We can't do it.
We want to do something for the business.
Well, I think it's one for doing for the whole city, on that side. And that's why I was talking about the missing middle, because nobody's gonna build a, 3, 4 places downtown on that. I don't think precludes anybody. And Nick, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. 2 things. One, the council can look at development activity, get a report every year. How are we doing if we wanted to amend the program? But 2, Nick, what if your projection, I mean, when you told me when we were doing the ADU, you expected 50, maybe in the whole county, which kind of blew my thought. And the point I'm trying to make is you don't think there's going to be like a rush of folks for this program, do you? Or unknown, right?
No, I don't think so. I think that if you include the green area, there's at least one project that may apply for this, but they're going to have to figure out how to take their project from 3 to 4 stories to qualify, and potentially provide affordable housing. So whether they would go through with it or not, I can't tell you, and maybe we'll hear from the home builders on whether that makes that project viable or not. Otherwise, we don't have a ton of projects in the pipeline here. We do have the Kitsap Transit Park and Ride, and there are some pads along Sydney that allow some pretty tall buildings. And so I think those are at least 5 to 10 years away because of federal disposition rules for transit to get rid of the surplus property. But I think that's an area that could take advantage of this. And I would love to see 10 or 20 middle housing projects go forward. I think if we were to see that in the next 10 years, I would be pretty surprised. And I think we've written an ordinance that has pretty tough criteria, and this isn't going to be for every developer. And some developers are going to say, nope, that's not my wheelhouse. I don't even want to bother. But there may be a few developers who, say, I can do something innovative here, and I'd like to try this. I think it makes sense, but I think that's where you want to be with the program is you want to get value out of it, and you don't want to just give something away and get something that the market is producing already without an incentive. And I think the program as written hopefully would achieve that.
But you had something you want to say?
Yeah, well, I just want to address your question, Director Bond. So I don't know what came out of another committee. When I'm looking at these two maps, because your direct question is, do we remove the red shaded of this map? To me, I say just leave it in. I think a lot of those places aren't going to be developable anyhow. But when I'm looking at the map, I'd rather it be a cohesive one big look. These are the big chunks of areas. I don't see any complete one-offs. So my 2 cents is the message.
And I agree. Who was next? You, okay.
On the red map for the MTE down on the waterfront, I think that should be removed because you can't, I really believe, don't take anybody's view away. And what are you gonna put, a 3-story, 4-story along the waterfront? I don't see that, and I don't think the people really want that either for that going down there. And then my other statement is, we already make codes in zoning where you can have land for, apartments or the middle housing. Why can't we put on for real affordable housing? Why can't we put a zone land that says affordable housing? When a builder wants to come in, it's $300,000 or $400,000, not $800,000 for a home. I don't see why we can't already incorporate land usage for that.
Go ahead.
I think there's a number of issues with doing that. First is probably legality of zoning somebody's properties that only a niche product can be built on it. And it's not one that's very popular with our development community to begin with, so.
I don't know, what about if we own it and we don't have anything built on that and the city owns it, and then we, as a city, says, okay, this is going to be affordable housing when a builder comes in to build there.
I don't want to speak for everybody, but I don't know if the city wants to get into the housing speculation.
No, we're not. See,
But just how I would not go to your house and tell you that you can only sell your house for 300,000. But
no, I don't.
oh, I do, because but you can't come to me with my parcel.
No, that's your
And-
parcel. I mean,
And tell, no. If I own 50 acres, you can't come to me and say that, you know what, you can only build homes in this value. Seems like I can't go and tell you you can only sell your house for so much because people need to be able to afford to buy your home. You need to lower the price a little bit. I should be able to put a house on there or apartments, whatever I want to sell, condos. I should be able to sell this for whatever I want to.
So we're not requiring it, we're incentivizing.
Yeah, so we're incentivizing.
uh-huh.
That's what we're doing here tonight.
Exactly, on a land or a park, whatever, say, oh, so if you build, 20 units out of 100, those 20 units, no, we're going 25 units out of 100, 25 units, that gets affordable. That's affordable, it's under market value.
Without incentives, you won't have anybody take advantage.
Yeah, but we don't have that in McCormick Woods. McCormick Woods doesn't really have that. That's everything in McCormick Woods is market value. So now all of a sudden, it's market value in McCormick Woods. It's not,
The entire city is.
Everything.
yeah, so now we're bringing up, oh, if you want to do, build an apartment or whatever, now we're gonna give you, the MTE, the exemption.
Well, the state order, it's already a requirement for 8 years. That's not our choice.
I think you're talking about whether to adopt it or not.
That's the extra 4 years.
No, it's up to us if we want.
8 or 12, 8's automatic, correct?
No, they could, they have the option of 8 or 12.
If we.
No, I'm saying eighth the floor.
Yes.
Yeah, if we impose, keeping nothing, or.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And the other thing you mentioned about views, view sheds, that's what the code was intended to protect. So, and nobody can bust that.
Okay, good. Is that?
Yeah.
Good, because I'm very strong on
It's
that.
a tested,
What's that?
the ordinance has to be tested.
Oh, well, we have height limits in our zone.
Right, but that's not been tested. Never mind.
Well, I want.
Yeah, concerning the height limits, everything going out Perry and Farragut and above downtown is in a view protection overlay district. So we do measure height limits differently in those areas, in part to protect views. Does that mean that somebody's not going to have a partially blocked view if something redevelops? No, but it does limit heights beyond what our standard zones would otherwise allow. And most of these lots are targeted at that middle housing product, which is a 4-unit project where you replace a house with 4 townhomes. You're not talking about significant height like a 4-story building there in most cases.
Maybe we should already put that down on the waterfront, that there is no 4-story down on the waterfront. I mean,
Well-
can't we do that?
I think what we say.
We already said it.
Or with the zoning code.
Water side of Bay Street is now no.
Yeah, we have a height overlay district that is separate from the view protection overlay district for just our downtown. And it was very targeted where we looked at where you could go a little bit higher and where you couldn't without blocking views. And so the water side of Bay Street is limited to 3 stories. The uphill side of Bay Street is 4 stories. And there's a few parcels like at the bottom of Bethel, where the Kentucky Fried Chicken is, where you're kind of in a ravine. If you build a 5-story building, you're not going to block somebody's view. So that site would allow for a 5-story building downtown. But otherwise, it's a very targeted height overlay map that tries to preserve views while encouraging some redevelopment and addition of housing in our downtown.
I think the reality is somebody could build a house that might interrupt somebody's view, but they get to. Property right. Anybody else have any? Yeah, go ahead.
Nick, I just have a quick question for you. Are the previous versions of this, there was reporting differences between 8-year and 12-year? Is that still the same? Do we have changes in the reporting?
No, we would still have to report annually on the 12-year exemptions, and there's an auditing process to verify that the people who are renting the units qualify because their income is low enough and that they're being rented at the appropriate amount, and that the developer is doing what they have contractually agreed to do with the city. So if somebody takes the 12-year incentive, there is a reporting requirement. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to charge annual fees for that. The only thing we can charge with MFTE is the upfront application fee. And so if we adopt this, we would need to readopt also a fee for applying for this program.
And Nick, have I heard us talk about in the past, or maybe this is a different conversation, that we could take those fees and use that to contract out for the reporting because it's pretty burdensome?
Well, I mean, we could certainly contract out to have somebody help us with the reporting, but you're only getting a one-time fee. You can't charge an annual fee ongoing for the cost of that service. So you don't want to charge that up front, and then, the city would pay for that over time.
Yeah, it's a city responsibility, but it's also quite a burdensome. As I understand that. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I remember that there was general discussion, very vague, about how some of that reporting could be included in the conditions that the applicant has to provide on an annual basis, possibly limiting staff involvement. I don't know if there are any more specifics on that, or if anyone else has it.
I think that's the case. There's the applicant reporting, but then there's our reporting and evaluation of their report. Nick, did I characterize that correctly?
Well, isn't it our auditing of the reporting?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm muted there. The applicant is providing us with an annual report that gives us the information that we need to plug into the state's reporting system. So it really is a data entry process at that point. And the key is getting the report from the applicant in the right format and making sure that it includes the right information, which is something that gets done in the initial contract for the multifamily tax exemption.
Okay, Jay.
I think it was a question when we went with the 8-year, we went with the 8-year because we were basically informed that 12-year was a little bit onerous in the reporting requirement and might require an additional staffing in DCD. And that, I don't know if you want to comment on that, Nick.
Well, yeah, so the 8-year MFTE program is very light on staff resources because it's really the cost of preparing the initial contract and then finalizing the certificate upon completion of the project. Once it's been recorded with the auditor, the final certificate's been recorded, there's nothing left to do on the MFTE program. I talked to Bremerton a little bit about how much time they're spending on their MFTE program, and they said that one of their senior planners is doing the work, and it's probably about 10% of their time dedicated to the MFTE program. And so in Port Orchard, that's actually mostly fallen to me as the director to do. We now have senior planners, and we didn't have the same org chart for our planning division, but I have people that I could assign this work to. But there is some burden with the 12-year program, but we have far fewer of these than Bremerton. Bremerton also doesn't. Their criteria are not nearly as difficult to meet, and so lots of people are applying for this in Bremerton. And I think under our program, which is a little bit more targeted, I don't think we would get as many applications. So it's probably not a huge problem for us, but if it became a problem, I would certainly let you know, and that could be part of the discussion, as Councilmember Chang mentioned, that if we get too many of these, at some point the city council may want to push pause on this program because it's costing our residents too much money. So same thing would go for our staffing resources.
All right, so Nick, I think you were looking for some guidance first on the map. I'm okay, like John pointed out, leaving the red in. I think it helps contrast where there's a no-go. Okay. I think you've got unanimity on that, Nick. Was there anything else you were looking for?
Yeah, sounds good, and it sounds like everybody was supportive of including the green area as well. And so that allows us to finalize the draft map. The next step would be I need to, I don't recall whether I would have to do a SEPA review on the proposed ordinance or not, or if there's commerce notice. So I need to check on that. But we would schedule this for a public hearing. And so if it's council's desire, I can work on getting that on a future agenda in coordination with the clerk and the mayor.
Sounds good. Sounds like a programmatic SEPA maybe.
It's possible. I need to do some homework.
All right. Are we done with MFTE then?
Yes.
All right. We're down to our good of the order portion of the agenda. Any good of the order? Jay?
I used Click It, Fix It this past weekend, and it worked great. So I just wanted to thumbs up, and it's super. Under my shirt sleeve, I have a Looney Tune bandage. Don't ask how I got it, Band-Aid, because I got my COVID shot up today. I'm just letting people know that they're available, and it's up to you if you want to move forward with that. I would ask, is there an update from either Nick or Charlie on Garrison?
No update at this time. The litigation authorized by the council has not yet been filed, but we anticipate that by the end of the month.
Thank you. That was it for me.
Big sound stuff.
All right, any other good of the order? Oh, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that we have been doing some outreach on the Sherman Avenue Stormwater Park, and we are having a workshop in the council chambers tomorrow night. It is not advertised as a council meeting. The committee was invited to that meeting. Mark Trenary is the council member who serves on the steering committee, as that's an area of town where he lives. And we really are trying to get people from that area to turn out, but of course it is a public meeting and people are welcome. So if two of the other council members wanted to come, we have room for you. If more than two want to come, I'm not sure if we can get a notice out in time, Brandy.
Yeah,
We already-
got
we
confirmation that 3 council members were attending, so we did close that notice today. So, it
Right.
has been published as a forum.
Yeah.
It's,
So we're covered then.
All right, perfect. So hope to see some of you there, and hopefully we will have a good turnout.
All right.
and then I just have one thing in my mind.
Okay.
So we passed a resolution setting the council's meeting schedule for 2025. Unfortunately, I did not catch that November 11th is Veterans Day, which is a Tuesday. It's the second Tuesday of the month, that's our regular council meeting. The mayor is proposing that we cancel that meeting based on staff agenda items and make the November 18th work study session a regular meeting. So we'll have 2 regular meetings on the 18th and the 25th, with no work study in November. The council agrees, and I will bring a revised resolution stating that at the next.
We play by ear, in case there's not much for,
We plan our agendas out to that far, and at this point, staff has either nothing planned or can adjust.
Not the November.
2026.
No.
Oh, what?
Oh, that's November? Oh. it's
November.
November.
I was thinking November.
So that's why I'm like, why are we like 2 weeks up here? Like, we're a year out here. Like, what are we doing?
November 11th.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Here.
I would like to go next, I think you.
Yes.
And,
Could we, on that click fix, I love it. Were we gonna, I thought we kind of talked about it, are we gonna put that back on for the government page to remind people and kind of do a little, show how to do it to the public? Was it not gonna, that,
government page or?
Or public,
Government Facebook page?
yeah.
The
government
clerk's office was tasked with that, but I was out most of
Okay.
last week, so it is on our list to get that out today.
Yes, because I just think that would be really good, yes, thank you.
And then Dennis, you had something on it.
So I had two things, I'm sorry, were you first? So two things, I just want to remind everybody, the C-Click fix, it gets streamed to the county, so we don't get them the same day and the next day all the time, so it's pretty good, but it's probably about a 24-hour turnaround, but it's very common to get stuff over the weekend, like on a Friday, and we don't get it till early next week, so we do get it for free, so it's
Really good.
yeah.
Still fast.
Yes, but we're working on like improving that, like opportunities with Cartograph where it's integrated, which would be our own. The other thing, I want to be able to sleep tonight, so 23.1% of the city has been TV'd in the sewer system and the gravity. We have 3,259 open sewer requests right now, and we're still building our.
How many?
We have 3,259 open sewer requests, workflow, and we're still building that workflow, so we haven't even realized everything. that needs to be
Just
done.
to clarify, it's not open sewer like.
No. Open tasks that are plan tasks. that we do, so now I can sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 quick things. One, while Jay was talking about getting a shot, I'll remind you, you can go get blood. They're always in need of blood. They do it here regularly. At the parking lot of my church. They bring blood when they come back. November 17th is my next donation. St. Gabe's, right up there.
Mitchell.
On Mitchell.
Yeah,
Yep.
say for that, yeah, it's like, know that.
Yeah, they're regularly there, go on their website, Blood Works Request, that's who I use, and then 2. I'm in Indiana, so.
Okay.
Zoom?
I'm working, so
Okay,
I don't think I'll.
Okay, have a good trip, safe trip.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at 9:02. Thank you.
Good job, Pro Tem.
Thank you.